The City Council is poised to vote tonight to set aside $20,000 annually for city workers' gender reassignment surgery. So now you get reassigned to a different gender. It sounds very sci-fi, doesn't it? The procedure is not covered by the city's two health insurance providers, Kaiser and HealthNet. We offer all kinds of benefits to our employees. This brings our benefits in line with what's just and fair for the transgender community, said City Councilman Darrell Moore, who's originally proposed the idea in 2007. I wonder if he'll be the first person to volunteer for it. Maybe that's why he put it through. Who knows? But anyway, that's the world we're living in today with this madness and craziness as they destroy all that was to bring in all that will be new, you see. In the proper way. God left it all imperfect, they say, in Freemasonry, and their job is to perfect all that was left imperfect. But the main thing, of course, is to perfect the little monkeys themselves. That's us lot at the bottom. It's a very elitist organization, if you understand what it's really all about. It's not a self-help club at all, except for the little idiots at the bottom. But as they go up the ladder, they get taught the little cons, and then they start to laugh at getting away with the cons, and the public never suspecting what they're into. And then they get into the higher clubs and higher clubs and higher clubs. And then, of course, they're raking in carbon credits from the schmucks. It says fighting pirates with laser cannons. That's what they're going to use now against some of the pirates, supposedly. I never understood this pirate thing. One sub sitting there. They've got the GPS satellites here. They know every little boat that's leaving Somalia from its coast. They know where they're coming out from and what they're going to do, and they can't stop them. They're telling us. Yeah. Why not? Why not stop them? I mean, it's a law of the sea. Someone trying to rob you or steal your ship or your cargo, they're fair game for what you want to do to them. Why don't they do that? Why not? So a non-lethal laser to defend against pirate attacks is a phrase you'd expect atop a G.I. Joe cartoon script or in pitch for a video game. This week, however, it cropped up in significantly less fictional content in an announcement from the British defence firm BAE Systems. It successfully tested a bespoke neodymium yttrium aluminum garnet laser, is a mouthful, with an accompanying targeting system which claims it could be used as a non-lethal deterrent against pirates, particularly in the treacherous waters off the coast of Somalia. The laser is a non-lethal device aimed at distracting or temporarily disabling pirates if they sail too close to a ship, or temporarily blinding them in the case of armed threat. I don't know why that they remake this thing, because, in the 80s, I can remember U.S. Coast Guard, in fact, were going around a trawler from the then Soviet Union, and the trawler aimed a laser at them, and both of them were permanently blinded. Permanently blinded. It depends on the strength and the frequency and so on that you put out there. You can either disable temporarily, but mainly it's used for permanent blinding. And so here's a company remaking it again, reinventing it, I guess, as they call it. And this stuff eventually will be used on people in the street, because you can change the settings, and as they've done in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, a lot of stuff has been tested out there because no one cares. There's no tally of the deaths and slaughters, and there's no public inquiries about anything. And I've watched videos where a school bus had something turned on it, and it just demolished those inside of it. It was just like a laser whipping across them. And even said that intestines and brains were slapped in on the roof of the bus. Incredible. Then another one too, that there were bodies left that were only about 4.5 feet long. They were totally dehydrated and shrunk. I've got it on my website somewhere in the archives. I might hunt it up for you to see. This stuff will eventually be used on the general populations, and they don't want you to know how far ahead they are with all this wonderful science. See, science is wonderful, they say, it's progress. And of course, they don't want to show you how far they've progressed, because one day they might have to turn it all on you, and they probably will. When you've run out of carbon credits and you're freezing to death and you're on food rationing too. And by the way, in this article to do with fuel rationing and using the wartime, we're all in it together. Let's stand together. This spokeswoman also says. It worked during wartime, and they were far healthier then too when they were also on food rationing, so they could bring that into. Well, of course they're going to bring that into. Amazing, eh? Conology. You use con games to fool the public, whip up hysteria, and then tell you we're all in it together. Isn't that something? And for communitarianism, and this was sent by a guy in one of the local councils in Britain, I'll put up this link to the plain English guide to the localism bill. They're calling it localism. Wonderful names to throw people who are searching off communitarianism, you see. So localism is another term they're using for it. A plain English guide to the localism bill. I'll put that up as a PDF, and you can peruse that at your leisure as well. It's got a lot of links coming off of it. It's from the government in the UK. It's got a lot of links coming off to other government sites too, with other parts. They can't put it all out on this darn PDF, because they don't want folks searching the other links. Most folk won't bother, you see, to find out what else is in the nitty-gritty, in the small print, you might say. But I'll put it up to show you what you're in for when you get your new greenies, who are all going to be your new Stasi. They're unelected little Stasi leaders. I wonder if I give them green swastikas to wear in their armbands like they did in Germany. I can see them now. They'll be a lot heavier than you, mind you. You'll be on your rationing, and they'll be going around door to door to weigh you and measure you and all the rest of it, and interrogate you to see if you've eaten an extra carrot that week, or maybe grown a cucumber in your basement like they did in BC, and then in come the cops. Who knows? And this is like a comedy, because that's what we're in today, folks. That's what we're in today, because it's all lies. Everything they tell you about is a lie. Global warming's a lie. All these things are lies for a different agenda. Don't fall into arguing the agenda. Get above it to see what the real target is, the real goals, and why it's being used. Not too hard to do. Now, out there you've probably heard about, maybe even seen on the television ads when they come on, and the shicer will come on and you say, for those out there who've got, old and dusty and broken jewelry, and then they flash signs of the dollar, they'll just send it to them and they'll give you a couple of bucks in return. That old, kind of tarnished looking gold and stuff like that. They're not using, and it's maybe got a broken clasp on it. And of course it's all melted down, because the price of gold is the price of gold, doesn't matter if it's tarnished or not. But a lot of the idiots don't realize that, and they see the dollar signs and send off their old, worn, tired, broken jewelry. Well, here's a woman who ran off with her old broken jewelry, I guess. Her junk jewelry, they call it. Wife of Tunisian president fled the riot-torn country with 1.5 tons of gold. She must be some arms on her, 1.5 tons of gold. And it says that should help feed the son-in-law's pet tiger. It says the wife of Tunisia's ousted president fled the chaos-stricken country with 1.5 tons of gold, worth more than £35 million, and emerged yesterday. Dubbed the Imelda Marcos of the Arab world because of her lavish lifestyle and love of designer clothes, Lila Trabelsi said she's demanded the gold last week as President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali's regime collapsed. The chief of Tunisia's central bank initially refused, but Ben Ali's 74 person intervened, and she flew out with the bullion as she joined him in exile in Saudi Arabia. The source of the claim, leading Tunisian economist Monsef Chikaru, said militiamen had tried to take more gold. The clan of the former First Lady is widely despised as the ultimate symbol of corruption and excess. They'll just get another one in with more corruption and excess. The former hairdresser, Mrs. Ben Ali, 53, is known for her love of fast cars, and the family had more than 50 luxury homes and frequent shopping trips to Dubai, during which she is said to have spent hundreds of thousands of pounds. While many Tunisians faced unemployment, poor conditions and oppression from Ben Ali's brutal regime, his family, known as the Mafia in the North African country's capital Tunis, is said to have amassed a £3.5 billion fortune, much of it kept in France, where some members of the family were still holed up last night. Why didn't the US invade them, and bring their democracy, just like they did to Iraq? This an absolute shambles now. And of course that's what Brzezinski wanted. He said, if we can get Iraq into a state of constant conflict with different parties fighting forever, that's what we want. That's what they've got. But why wouldn't they attack this character, Why not? There's a reason for it. I'll let you figure that out. Now, here's an article here. I don't generally read these articles, and I'm reading it not for the reason it's purported in the paper. Lobbyist Ashley Turton found dead at home. And it says here, a lobbyist married to a key White House aide was found dead early Monday in her sport utility vehicle, which was heavily damaged by fire in the garage of the couple's Capitol Hill home. Authorities says the cause of her death was unknown. Ashley W. Turton, 37, an energy company lobbyist, because that's how your government really is. America is just these prunes at the top who are all interrelated to these lobbyists raking in the cash and keeping all the schmucks paying taxes. That's what all countries happen to be, folks, under the propaganda. And I'm going to read this when I come back from this break. Hi folks, we're back. This is Cutting Through the Matrix, talking about a White House, a lobbyist married to a White House aide. Very important one. Found dead by early Monday in a sport utility vehicle. It says here, Ashley W. Turton, 37, an energy company lobbyist and former chief of staff to Rep. Rosa L. DeLauro, Democrat, Connecticut, was found dead shortly before 5 a.m. in the SUV. And it goes into what they found in the garage. It says she's a mother of 3 children, was the wife of Daniel A. Turton, 43, the White House's Deputy Director of Legislative Affairs for the House of Representatives. He is President Obama's point man on legislation moving through that body. See how they're all intermarried? The lobbyists on the one side, and here's the guy in the government on the other. I mean, this is how all governments really, really work. It's nothing to do with democracy or you voting them in. And when it comes to America's interest, it's their interests, believe you me, across the world that matter. Investigators on Monday were trying to determine what happened and so on. It says, it happened. It occurred as Turton was leaving home earlier than usual for work, anticipating a busy day in her downtown office. Her employer, Progress Energy, and another North Carolina utilities giant, Duke Energy, announced Monday that Duke is buying Progress for $13 billion in stock. That might be a reason there somewhere involved. Who knows? But, these things happen at that level of cash, believe you me. So we're getting ready to deal with a lot of merger communications issues, said fellow Progress lobbyist Michael Sewell. There's stacks of them. They all live there and often married to congressmen and stuff, with whom Turton shared a 3-person office at 801 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. I was in the office very early too. And it says Ashley Turton was an aide to former Congressman Richard A. Gephardt, a Democrat, before serving as DeLauro's top staffer and joining Progress. Do you understand? It doesn't matter what party they are. They're all in the same big multinational corporate businesses, getting handouts from the governments and contracts with your tax money, of course. And war is a great thing for them. And energy's at the top of the list now for massive profits. Massive profits. Daniel Turton worked for Gephardt in the House Rules Committee before moving to the White House. The Turtons were a Washington power couple, well known in Democratic circles, and there's a lot of them well known in the circles of both parties. And it says many of you have worked with both of them during their careers in Capitol Hill. Pete Rose, the interim White House Chief of Staff, said in an email notifying staff members of Turton's death, they exemplify the definition of public servants. Isn't that wonderful, public servants? As you rake in the cash from the taxpayer and private deals. We're making every resource available to Dan and his family in his moment of need. So that's what really comprises government, and that's why you go into all these different countries for these big corporations. And of course they're all raking up. We saw what happened in Afghanistan, and they eventually divvied up the oil fields between BP and a few other oil companies, big top oil companies, using again the gullible people at the bottom to wear the uniforms and do all the fighting and slaughtering. It's always been that way. Britain's had a massive history of that, beautiful history of that. And a great propaganda arm to indoctrinate the children into a completely fake history of how they're going off to, bring civilization to the natives and stuff like that. But it's always been this con game. And that's what capital cities are. Those that you think that you elect, which you don't really, and the lobbyists that are often married to them, working together. That's what governments are all about. And they have massive PR systems to make sure that you get a completely different teary-eyed vision of flag-waving and national anthems. From Hamish myself from Ontario, Canada, it's good night, and may your God or your gods go with you.